Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Geeks from the Multiverse. Of course, we're going to be digging into Jurassic Park franchise. We're going to be talking about, of course, the OG trilogy, the Jurassic Park trilogy. We're going to be talking about Easter eggs. We're going to be talking about Jeff Goldblum. We're going to be talking about chaos theory and all kinds of stuff relating to Jurassic Park. So hold on to your butts because we're about to get geeky.
What's up, y'all? This is your boy John, and of course, with me as always is Matty Boy.
Yeah.
You mean yas, Matt? You gotta get yas. Anyways, guys, sorry, we just went on a totally different rampage here. Well, we got some news before we jump into this Jurassic Park episode, baby, part 1 of 2, of course. So we just want to let you guys know that Google Podcast recently just decided to say extinct, no more, footy, done. Doesn't want to be existence anymore. But basically what they're doing,
baby,
GFY, go. Never mind. I'm not going to explain it, but you can figure it out for yourselves. Yeah. But anyways, so YouTube is now going to be the new thing. So if you already don't know, we are actually on YouTube. We've been on YouTube for a little bit now, but the thing is, what they're doing is everything that was on Google Podcasts is now being transferred to YouTube. So now every episode you listen to is going to now be on there as another platform. So all the ones that have been listening, thank you. We appreciate it. And of course, follow and subscribe to us on YouTube because, again, man, it's going to help us out in the long run, especially those analytics, man, because I'm hoping that it's going to make us even bigger with, the analytics-wise because Spotify is great, but YouTube's a major platform, man. This is going to help us out tremendously. Yeah. But anyways, another quick thing, too, is that we are now officially trademarked. Ooh, baby. Yes. So that means any logo that we have, any merchandise, anything that we do, videos, whatever, right? So anything that we have our logo on, it is now trademarked, right? So go ahead, try to copy us, guys. Guess what? You're going to get sued if you try. I'm just going to say that right now.
Touch me and I'll sue.
Trust me, I'll sue. No, I'm kidding. No, but anyways, no. But it's a little fun fact because it's nice to be like, hey, you know what? We have our own brand, we have our own style. So now, if anyone tries, right, it's like the whole Disney thing. Ooh, go ahead and try to play with Mickey Mouse. Oh wait, I can. So basically, what we should do, man, is we should steal Mickey Mouse and just maybe we should trademark Mickey Mouse right now before anyone else does. No, I'm kidding.
We actually, the Steamboat Mickey Mouse,
Oh, Steamboat Willie? Is that what you're talking
about? Yeah, well, the Steamboat Mickey Mouse is public domain because of the year that it came out.
Yeah, it was a Steamboat Willie. Yeah, but yeah, no, I thought the whole character of Mickey Mouse was technically.
No, not the newer version of it. The original Steamboat Willie
you can do, but you can't do anything new. Okay. Well, never mind. I guess we'll have to do Steamboat Willie. But anyways, Matt, I'm gonna let you take over in this next part because I know you're very excited about this as well.
I actually am very excited because this project that I've been working on, which is my very first book. Never thought I'd be in this position where I was actually an author of a book that's published, which is kind of exciting because I've had a lot of ideas.
But the man has a shit ton of ideas. The problem is I can't keep up with his creativity, and I've been trying to. Because the thing is, when he came up with Matt's Salty Tips, I'm like, shit. He's like, well, you got to come up with one, and I'm like, how about me sitting in the corner with a dunce hat, not knowing what the fuck to say? I don't know. I'm not saying I'm not creative. The problem is his creativity is on another level where I can't really match that because a lot of times when him and I talk, it's like, hey, let's talk about this. I might intertwine a little bit and say, hey, we should do this. But most of the ideas, most of the time, we come up with a little bit together, but mostly it's like him saying, hey, why don't we do this? And we're like, okay, well, why don't we try to maybe tweak it up a little bit? But literally it's all him. And I'm going to say it right now. So that's why I said, this whole book idea, I was surprised too, Matt, because when you told me about the book in the beginning, I was like, wait, you're what now? You're trying to be like a what's that guy? Stephen King or
motherfucking Shakespeare.
Motherfucking Shakespeare. I don't know. You're just you're on that level now. You're like an author, an author.
An author.
Not an author, but an author. But anyways, no, I just thought it was a cool idea. But go ahead. And I know I'm trying to not steal your thunder here, but go ahead.
No, sometimes I'm very ADD when it comes to certain things because even with the Salty Tips, I do have these really really cool ideas. and then I run out of steam, and I just, look, I'm just a dude. Like, I have a full-time job. I podcast. I do a lot with the church. I'm writing, I wrote this book, and I do a lot of other things. So it's like the salty tips and some of these other things that I'm trying to do sometimes have to take a back seat. And I think, the one thing with this book, it just became such a passion, and there's so much of information that just poured out as far as this book, which is not just one book for me. Like, this is actually 3 books.
Yeah, I mean, because like you were saying, like it's it's like a trilogy in a sense, kind of like, and that makes sense, because now I want you guys to know this is like, Matt and I actually recently just talked about this, is that, he wasn't just going to leave you with like one book, cliffhang you, and then say, okay, we're going to see where this is going to go. No, he wants to write the whole book, whether it makes it or doesn't, but at least it gives you the guys the opportunity to be like, hey, this is a great, trilogy of books. And then, if you guys like it enough, who knows, maybe that, he can make more down the road. Yeah. Depending on how well it goes.
So the book is called The Amulet Keeper's Power of the Gods. And if you really want to get a summary, and I'm not going to go into, characters and the summary and all the, minute details of the book right now. But if you really want to find, information on the book, one, you can go to our website, which there's a whole new page on the website dedicated to the book, which will give you the summary, and it'll give you some, AI renderings that I've done for each of the, some of the characters that are in there with some bios, and it'll give you the link to Amazon where you can actually see it. But it does go on sale August 1st.
Yes, of 2024, not next year, this year.
This year. And right now you can actually pre-order your own copy of the hard copy of the book. So right now there's a hard copy on Amazon, and then August 1st there will also be an ebook that you can also order if you'd prefer the ebook version. So that's kind of it right now that I got.
No, I know. The only thing I was going to say, guys, is, I'm actually, again, I've known Matt for a long time, and, I'm just proud of the progress, because like, when him and I first started, even just talking and like not even doing this stuff, I mean, we're talking almost 10 years ago now, but yeah, right. Give it probably almost 10 years. Give or take now, if I'm thinking about it. But like, looking at him from way back when, of like seeing him as like this, I'll admit, middle-aged, introverted guy, really didn't really like to talk to people as much. And, all of a sudden he was just,
I still don't.
I know he doesn't, but like, I would say he's gotten a little bit better depending on who he was, and now he's with me, and he's like, he can basically say whatever. And he's like, shut the fuck up, fucking go fuck yourself. We always joke around and stuff, but like, the first time we were talking, it's just like we clicked. Now it's like we're doing a podcast together, and everyone's like, how do you two work? And it's like, well, I'm the talkative, kind of like loud, outspoken one, kind of can talk to people and do all this other stuff. And he's like I'll admit, he's kind of the behind the scenes guy, kind of like, hey, how you doing? I'll talk, but I'll let him talk and just kind of do his thing or whatever. But
yeah, I'm the silent creative one.
Yeah, and I'm just the loudmouth fucking go on the fly guy. That's what he's saying. But anyways, guys, no, we're gonna get into the episode, because the Jurassic Park, really the film franchise, it's really been a classic. Like it's just, especially the first 3, what we're going to be talking about today. And then, I know the newer movies that they came out with, a little bit ago, they did a good job, but I think the really first 3 of the Jurassic Park series has been I
would almost argue, the first and the third one are probably the most known, I think.
Yeah.
I think even though it's, because it's, the second one isn't really just called Jurassic Park 2.
No.
It has like a title before it, which makes it kind of funny because it gets lost, which the title is The Lost World, but it does kind of get lost because it's not one that's very, very common. And I don't think it's as popular as Jurassic Park 3 and the original Jurassic Park.
So I'm just surprised, instead of like, keeping with the theme, they could have called it Jurassic Park 2, The Lost World. Or something like, what I'm saying, just to kind of make,
they could have just called it Jurassic Park, The Lost World, and it would have been, you don't even have to add the 2, but I think it just gets lost with the rest of them. Like it doesn't, the title of it itself doesn't feel like a Jurassic Park title. It just feels like, a different movie until you're like, oh, this is a Jurassic Park movie.
Yeah. And that was the thing where, you're looking at the trilogy, and the beauty of the films, honestly, I'm going to say it's not even really about the actors. It's really about the dinosaurs you really get to see in the film, and you kind of see how.
And Jeff Goldblum.
Well, I'm Jeff Goldblum, of course, but like you start to see how like the first one plays out, and then you start to see where second and third goes, and it seems weird because like the first really film is more based in again on the island of where the Jurassic Park theme park in a sense was supposed to be.
Isla Nublar?
Yeah, something like that. But like and then like the second one, it's like they go into the city somehow, and the third one, and like
it kind of starts on like site B because there's a site A which is where the park was, and then site B which is where the kind of I guess you would call them the backup, the backup.
We need a backup plan for this.
The backup island, which is where they would breed the dinosaurs and then transport them into the park.
So you mean the most dangerous part of basically the whole theme here?
They kind of free roamed in this site B, which is where the Lost World and kind of Jurassic Park 3 kind of, I guess, take place.
Well, yeah, but I know that, again, we talked about that. I want to say it's the third one where they go to the city. I don't think it's the second one.
No, it is the second one because they have the little baby.
Oh, okay.
We talked about they have the little baby T-Rex and they're trying to get it.
Yeah, that's right. And then it was like, wah, and you're like, shut up. And you're like, wait a minute, why are we telling a baby T-Rex to shut up? Even though the mama T-Rex is right outside. But no, I couldn't. Maybe you're right. I don't know.
The Lost World actually had because there was a part that had an Indiana Jones reference, and I remember this. It's not in our notes. I just kind of remembered this because there was a gas station with a big red ball on the sign. Oh. And the T-Rex knocks it down, and the red ball is
starts rolling.
It starts rolling after Ian and his girlfriend that have the T-Rex.
Yep.
I remember that one scene because Steven Spielberg directed the first two.
Well, of course he has to have some sort of reference.
You have a lot of references in these movies, with Steven Spielberg directing.
I mean, when you're looking at, the films though, I mean, you look at like I would even say some of the characters, right? So you're looking at, Sam Neill. Like I know back in the 90s, like he was, I would say he's relatively big. He wasn't like it's not like a George Clooney or, like Tom Cruise or, like, what I'm saying? Like that generational, like actor, you know what I'm saying? Like he was known, of course, for these movies. I don't know really what else he did probably besides this. Maybe there might've been other movies that I don't know about, but like, I know, yes, you would know him in Jurassic Park. You know what I mean? But like, it wasn't really like anybody else. But like, you look at Jeff Goldblum, and he's like, that's a young Jeff Goldblum in a sense. Like, but it wasn't his like very first film. But he's well known, of course, in the Jurassic Park movies because again, he's been in quite a few of them. He's been in we've already mentioned it, but like the 2 and 3, and then the basically later films later on, of course. But like, wait, no, sorry, it was 1 and 2, not 3. That's right. But like you're looking at some of those characters, and then you got some random ass characters that we've talked about. Like, it was, well, of course, like Samuel L. Jackson randomly shows up in the first one, and
it's one of those really weird Samuel L. Jackson like movies because he doesn't act like Samuel L. Jackson.
No, he's the total opposite.
He doesn't even swear in this movie. Like
the one thing that he's known for.
There's one scene that makes me cringe. And it's not even like a gross scene. It's just in this movie, he is a chain smoker. Okay. But in the scene, there's like a close up of him with a cigarette hanging out of his mouth. Okay. And you really have to picture this because it really makes me cringe because the cigarette is lit, but it's all the way to the filter. Oh, and God. He's you can see it. It's like, it's lit. The smoke is coming from the cigarette, and he's literally smoking the filter, and it's like, oh,
not even that. I mean, no offense. I mean, even in reality, like, no, you would sit there and it would start burning your lips at that point.
And then the very next couple scenes, he has a brand new cigarette in his mouth, like hanging out. He is one of those guys. Like my dad was one of those guys, like back in the day.
Oh, like when droopy kind of like cigarette hanging out.
When he would smoke, he would have it like hanging off of his
and they would talk, and then it would just like flick. I know exactly what you're talking about. What you're talking about.
Yeah, it would just like fling up and down because it would just move with his mouth. That's what Samuel L. Jackson was doing. But just a couple scenes later, he had a brand new one hanging out of his mouth.
It was just like, dude, you go from basically doing that to this. It's like, just stop. Like, and why don't you throw in a fuck in there? Huh? Why don't you throw in your signature word from time to time?
The worst line that he has in this movie is "Hold on to your butts."
I know the fact that
That's the only one, and then a few, maybe like half the movie in, he ends up, all you see is an arm. Because he gets eaten by a velociraptor.
No, and that's what I mean. It's funny because it's not even just him. I mean, you're looking at again a young Vince Vaughn. I think I know he's in more the second one, but like you see these random ass characters, like really these actors that show up. It's kind of like being in a Star Wars like credit. You know what I mean? Like being like a stormtrooper or somebody like that. You just never expect them to be like randomly thrown into a movie and be like, well, you're going to be the hunter, or you're going to be the one that's like, trying to basically kill the T-Rex or like get off the island or do whatever. Or maybe basically the guy who gets eaten in the telephone booth. That's always I think that honestly was one of my favorite scenes. I don't know what it was. It was just funny as hell. You see him just starting to call somebody, and then all of a sudden you see the T-Rex just go, and he just like takes off right afterwards. And you're just like, well, that sucks. And then he just basically, it just keeps, rolling the film. And I'm just like, that was either that or the porta potty. Or that, like that those are the two that I would be like, that'd be a really shitty way to die. Like that's like legit, like really shitty to be sitting on a toilet, be like, oh, well, I guess I'm dead. It's fine. Fuck it. And then you basically just see legs, like just sitting there. And it's like, yeah, I'm good. I don't really think I need to see any more of that. But no, I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, it's just the characters in the movies and, how they, really, I think they really do a good storytelling. I think that's another beautiful thing about the franchise is that they really...
I really think, I mean, when you see... And this guy, honestly, like, I don't know if it was in the 90s or the 2000s, but I think this guy was, like, everywhere. Because he was in movies, he was on TV shows, and I think he was really big in, like, Law & Order.
Which one was that?
B.D. Wong.
Yeah, so
he was big in like a lot of things. Like he was
always in like oh no, it wasn't. It was Law and Order.
I believe he was in Law and Order.
I think it was SVU or something like that. But yeah, I think he was like a psychiatrist. Sorry, I just couldn't speak.
Like a psychologist or something.
Psychiatrist, something like that.
Or like a forensic psychologist or something. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, it's one of those. Again, you get those random actors that get thrown in there, and you're just like. I mean, no, don't get me wrong. Like someone like that, it's like, it's great. I think it's a great little fit, but like, you get randos like, what was it? Wayne Knight.
Yes. He played Dennis Nedry, which we're going to be talking about in a minute, but yeah, he came from what? Seinfeld and a few other, Ace Ventura. Like he was in like a rando comedies, things like that. He's always in comedies and all of a sudden he gets thrown into a kind of a more serious role. And it's like, okay. Like, he does a good job. I mean, or really actually another one was, I was thinking of like Billy Madison and stuff like that from back in the day, cause I think he was like the principal. Yeah, that's right. He was the principal and yeah, that reminded you have to see the movie if you haven't seen it, which I would hope you would. But anyways, no, you get like those kind of characters you get thrown in there and it's nice to like kind of have that comic, comedic balance / kind of your more serious, actors like Sam Neill and whatnot. But, and Laura Dern playing, Dr. Sadler.
Yeah. And, it's one of those things that I think really when you start to look at, like really like kind of going into the, I don't know what I'm trying to go here, but like, I think really the more important piece to this is like looking at how Jeff Goldblum, and his, his character and basically the film franchise, like really kind of defined really the movies itself, and how he, when you're looking at the chaos theory, right. And looking at how he, used that with, the movies itself, right. It's interesting how you have a mathematician who was basically telling these archaeologists, like these scientists, whatever, like, if you do this, this is what you're going to get, in a sense. And basically him saying, hey, was it the right idea to basically play God in a sense and like start creating life that you have no idea what's going to happen. And then all of a sudden now you see these dinosaurs roaming and you don't even know how to, well, one, predict any of their behaviors unless now you see them and now you're like, well, shit, now was that a great idea to do that? Or was that something that could be, maybe not happened. I don't know.
It's funny, like in the early, in that early 90s, which is, you're looking at 93 being when they made Jurassic Park. And I just watched it today, which it's kind of funny because like I'm watching the movie and, there are scenes like most of the time, like he has his shirt like half open, during the last part of the movie, like his shirt's pretty much ripped mostly off of his off of his body. But like there are scenes like he's walking up to a giant pile of shit, and it's almost like he has his sunglasses on, like he's taking them off, and he's like walking up to it like really like kind of sexy like.
Oh, it's gonna be like Baywatch.
Right, like and then the line that he comes out with, like, wow, that's a big pile of shit. But like they're using him in this movie as like eye candy, and I don't get it because I don't really find him. I mean, I get it, like I'm a guy, but like I don't really find him as like an attractive dude.
I mean, I understand it's not like you're Hugh Jackman, you're Ryan Reynolds, like that kind of person where it's like, oh, look at that guy, like he's a a sexy little man or a sexy little bastard over here. But like I think the thing is about him is like when you look at him then and then you look at him now, okay, and you see the difference of like how he acts now versus back then. Like now it's like he's a totally different person. Like, I mean, I guess in some ways, like he's got that kookiness.
Right now he's wacky, but
oh no, he's wacky. But like when you look back then,
yeah, I think when especially that one scene, like when you're seeing him walking, or there are certain scenes where he's like, he's definitely like a ladies' man type character in the movie,
right?
It's really not so much of him being like a good looking guy. And granted, like back then he looked a lot different than how he looks now. But I think it was like the confidence that he had.
Well, I mean, and that's how it starts, man. I mean, that's if you have to be confident with yourself, that's the only way you're going to get ladies. Of course, back then, with his long hair, the sunglasses, again, with the half open shirt, and he's just like, that's a pile of shit. You're like, yeah, no shit, Sherlock. You're just walking up there like, hey, that's a pile of shit.
I'm just saying. I'm just going to throw it out there though, but I think women's ideas of what a hot guy looked like in the 90s,
oh, it's totally different
is different from what a hot guy looks like in the 2000s and the 2020s.
Dude, I'm going to tell you,
because back then in the 90s, dude, hairy chests were like,
it was a thing. It was, I mean, we'd be set, man.
Oh,
fucking great.
We'd be great. Yeah,
I'd be fucking killing it. But no, you're right. I agree with you. And like now, it's like clean shaven, muscular as hell.
You have to shave your chest, your arms, your legs, your back, your butt, your
face, your hair, your
balls.
Basically, you might as well just be bald everywhere. You might as well be like a bald cat all over your place. No, I'm kidding. No, I agree with you.
Like a friggin' swimmer, like an Olympic swimmer.
Oh, so like Michael Phelps. You're saying like you got to be Michael Phelps, but
you just got to laser that shit right off.
I mean, you're probably not wrong, man. The thing is though, is that I would say nowadays, like the concept of beauty is so different from way back when until now. And, I've always loved this saying. I know it's a very old saying, and because I don't know exactly when it came, but it was the, and it's always a famous one. It's the, beauty's within the eyes of the beholder, right? You're always thinking of beauty as a concept. Like, what is beauty? Like, what is sexy? What is this? What is that? Again, I always talk to my wife and I'm like, hey, am I beautiful? She's like, you're all right. I'm like, wow, okay, thanks. I guess I'm just whatever, I guess, but she's like, no, I mean, you're perfect for me. And I was like, I was like, damn, okay, all right, fine. You got me there. But like, you know what I mean? Like if you're talking about like regular sexy, like how do you judge that? How do you know what I'm saying? But like you look at Jeff Goldblum, I agree. Like he's that nerdy, kind of weird, sexy, whatever you want to call it back then. And it's like, yeah, no problem. Let him have a hairy ass chest. And he's like, don't worry, guys. How you doing? Hey, by the way, that's a pile of shit over there.
Yeah.
You're like, that's great.
No, this is a big pile of shit, Yeah.
Yeah, but like, I don't know. You're right, man. I just, it was 90s was a weird time.
It's just, it was kind of weird, but I mean, it worked for his character, but like for what it was worth, like he was really the only character until really, maybe 3/4 in when the shit hit the fan.
Oh yeah.
That really like understood that this was a real problem. And I think it just goes to, being a chaos theory expert. And I just real quickly want to go into the concepts of chaos theory. You guys haven't seen the movie in a while or don't know what the chaos theory thing is. He kind of, the way that he explains it is that it's an inherent unpredictability of complex systems. So in particular with like dinosaur ecosystems, he says that even with the best intentions and planning, unexpected events can occur due to the interconnected nature of everything within the system. So basically, like, no matter how carefully the park's creators planned and engineered the dinosaurs, there was always a chance of something going wrong.
Well, and I can even throw this out here. It's a little bit different, kind of on the same kind of theory in a sense, but like, think of like time travel, in a sense. Like you can go back in the past, you can change something, but at the same time, what he's saying about this unpredictability of not knowing what could happen, like, because we always talk about, I know there's been TV shows like hey, let's kill Hitler, or let's prevent the assassination of JFK, or something like that. It's kind of, you know what I mean? There's so many things that could happen. We don't know exactly what could change that could, especially with this, like the fact that you're planning it and you don't know when these dinosaurs are going to do something weird or, basically cause more chaos in the realm of things. But like, we also, the thing that we also need to remember is that we weren't alive when the dinosaurs were running around. So we never would have known unless, oh wait, you went back in time and actually saw what they were doing and observing their behaviors. We would never know. And like, this is what he's saying. Like, if you don't know, is it right for you to do something that you're not going to know exactly how it's going to work? And I agree with you, Matt, because like, it's interesting how this guy was probably the only one that was like, hey, this is a real fucking problem. And every one of you that is archaeologists, scientists, whatever, they're like, oh, this is great. And you're like, is it? Because there's a T-Rex right around here, and he's running around and doing shit and like trying to kill people. And you're like,
he says it in the movie, and he's actually talking to John Hammond, and he's actually saying like, you guys are just playing science. Like you haven't taken the time to do the research or do any of like the hard work. You're basically just taking somebody else's work and applying it to an experiment. Like, you're not doing the hard work and asking like the real questions and doing the real science of saying, should we be doing this? No. They jump to, oh, we need to do this. And that's kind of like what he's saying. And like the whole chaos theory thing is like, I guess the easiest way that I could explain it is like, if I wrote my name out on a piece of paper and then immediately traced over my name, the second tracing of my name is not going to be the exact way that I wrote it the first time. And that's in a sense, chaos theory is the second time that I go to trace my name, it's going to be slightly different than the very first time.
Well, yeah. And I think with the fact that this guy, right, in the film and explaining all this to everyone, and it's like, they don't really take him as serious at first, but then it's like,
no, because he's such a quirky ass fucking guy.
No, I understand, but like, he doesn't take him serious. But then like, after a little while, you're like, oh shit, this guy actually makes sense. And you start to listen to him, and then you're like, oh well, shit. Well, are we playing
if
God?
They only listen to him in the beginning, and it's funny because like, there's a scene in the movie where they're like, they're doing their like kind of dinosaur tour. And they get to like where the T-Rex is, and they bring the goat out, and they don't see anything.
Yep.
This is still during the day. They decide like, oh, they're gonna move on, and they haven't seen anything yet. And he gets like right up to like the little camera in the Jeep, and he knocks on the camera, and he goes right up like his face right up to the camera, and he's like, is there eventually going to be any dinosaurs on your dinosaur tour? And John Hammond is just like, he's like holding his head, and he's like, I really hate this guy.
No, I mean, because the reality is this is like, you're talking to a guy who, well, two, right? So we're going to talk about John Hammond here for a second. Like, I get his intentions were supposed to be pure, genuine. Like, he wanted to bring a sense of like, we don't know really what dinosaurs were like, so we're going to try to engineer this way of doing it.
It was definitely like a sense of curiosity and fascination, not so much of like
greed and
not like Jurassic World where the guy was just into it to make money. Like for John Hammond, it was like, I want to do this because one, we can, and two, other people will want to see dinosaurs.
Well, right, because like
They're fantastic creatures. Like we need to show them.
Well, right. I mean, it's kind of like this is the way I would think of it too. Is like besides just dinosaurs. I mean, I guess in this case, like I would say John Hammond in this case would probably be one of the most richest people on the planet. And I'm only saying that because if you're engineering such things and doing
yeah, and I mean, even for John Hammond, he wasn't really into that. Like, and you could see that when the lawyer was like, "Oh, we can charge like, $10,000 or $50,000 a day," and then John's like, "Well, this should be available to everybody," and the lawyer's like, "Well, maybe we can have a coupon day or something."
No, I mean, I get what you're saying, but like, the reality is like during that time, it's like, yes, he could have been the richest person on the planet because of the fact that he discovered this, he did away, but he didn't do it because of the greed and that stuff. I mean,
it was a bit naive, I think.
Right, and he was, and I mean, and the thing is too, I mean, I'm just kind of throwing it out here, but like, yeah, let's say if you ever made a time machine, or if you created like time travel, your ass would be the richest person on the planet because hands down, everyone would be like, I want to go back in time. Oh, I want to do this. But like reality is this is like, when you're looking at him, he, again, genuine, pure, naive in a sense. And, that's great. And like, he's just doing it for science and like, bettering understanding of dinosaurs and everything else. Again, looking back at Ian Malcolm here, Jeff Goldblum, he's like, listen, man, I understand your intention might be this, but now you got to think of the consequences that now might happen if you continue to do this shit.
Right.
And how is this going now to affect the more future? Because, oh, wait, what happens in the second movie? Jeff Goldblum goes to the lost world and finds all this shit out. So
and that's part of the chaos theory where he's saying like, you have no idea what's going to happen because you've done this science, but you haven't figured out like how the science is going to end up. Like you don't know what dinosaurs were like or what is going to happen because you haven't, taken the time to really research and do everything that you can. And, I think Dr. Sadler kind of does come alongside a little bit, but she comes more on the side of like, hey, there's plant life here that's been extinct for millions of years that are toxic and actually like kills people, and they shouldn't be here, and then, so she comes alongside kind of saying this kind of the same thing, saying like some of the plant life you have here are toxic to both dinosaurs and people, yet they're here. You've created them.
True. I mean, well, and then, you look at, basically Hammond I always loved when he always explained the amber, like that actually.
Mr. DNA.
Actually, hold on a second.
Oh, John's creating dinosaurs.
Look, it's funny. No, actually, what does it say right there, Matt? Here, I'll let you hold it. So I actually have it's a replica, like amber sample of what he had. I thought it was cool. I mean, granted, I know it's fake and it's whatever. But
Jurassic Park, yeah.
But literally, same idea. Like he explains it and he's like, hey, we're taking this DNA, we're taking it from like fossilization, all this stuff.
Wait, this thing is flat, man.
It's fucking flat, man. It doesn't even look real. I'm like, yeah, no shit, it's a replica. What do you expect? No, I thought it was cool. It was a cool little thing. But anyways, no,
he has it on like his like little walking
it's like
stick.
It's like a scepter or whatever. But like, no, like he has it and he was like, this is how I figured it out. Like this is how I decided to, look at it and
and they have that like stupid video that they're watching with Mr. DNA.
Yes, Mr. DNA, yes.
Yeah.
Again, it's I mean, you know what? Here's a question for you guys. If you had the proper, or let's say you had the technology, the knowledge, whatever, like if you had all this stuff in front of you and you were given a choice to like create basically dinosaurs or just create or bioengineer, let's say dinosaurs or stuff like that, would you ever do it? Because I can tell you right now, hell fucking no. They're extinct for a reason. Let them fucking be. That's just me.
You know what? I mean, I don't think the first thing that I would go to would be fucking dinosaurs. I would probably, if you could create life, I would probably want to go and find, species that have already gone extinct.
Oh no, actually, I was going to be like saber-tooth tiger. I'm like, no, that's a terrible idea. But
no, I mean like more, and I don't know of like species in particular right now that have gone like extinct, but like, but I would like, I would look at some of those like species that have gone extinct and, try to get those to recreate some of those. I mean, obviously, yeah, saber-tooth tigers probably maybe not so much, but like,
Or really, so I know, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's out in like Switzerland or something like that, or it could be like, I don't know if it's like Antarctica or something. There's like a vault. There's a vault somewhere. It's a big ass vault. It's like a techno. I don't know if it's like a foundation or something, but basically what they do is they literally take a sample of like different plants. I don't know if it's like animals or something like that, but they have this giant ass vault. I think it's mostly of plants and different things like that, but they keep it there because if things were to go extinct and if they ever found a way to bring things back, they always had a DNA sample of it so they could always extract it and maybe, create more of that whatever substance or, whether it was a plant or maybe an animal, whatever. So I think the idea of, maybe bringing back maybe extinct things, it's a great idea. I think it just depends on what kind of animals you're talking about, maybe what kind of plants, things that maybe are more beneficial.
Right.
I could say, maybe certain animals, like, okay, totally random, but like think of like panda bears, right? Or like pandas. They are technically an endangered species. They're not going to be a lot of them. And I know that. So like taking maybe DNA samples of them and like stuff like that. So if they ever did go or extinct, then maybe you could, replicate them or you could do stuff like that. But like,
yeah, some of the lists that I have on here is like the West African black rhino is extinct. The Carolina conure, passenger pigeon. Some of these animals,
why don't you just do the dodo bird and call it a day? Like
the dodo bird is
that's an extinct animal.
It's an extinct animal, yeah.
Just don't ever do like a megalodon or like, or something really big that could literally take out, populations worth and stuff like that. Like that, like anything that's basically going to kill you, I would say let's not do. I would say things that are like,
they're looking almost at like, you look at certain polar bears, they're saying that they could possibly go extinct by 2100.
Well, it's because of the Arctic. If you look at the Arctic now, yes, global warming, everyone's like, oh, global warming. I'm like, okay, listen, the problem is that you look at the Earth, yes, it's heating up. Okay, guess what? The problem that we don't understand is that because it's heating up,
right?
What makes you think that if the world floods, what else do you think might happen? It's called the Ice Age. I'm just saying.
And you're talking like the eastern and western gorillas, those are critically endangered, the Asian elephant.
Again, there's different animals, there's different things like that.
Fucking giraffes, dude,
what? Giraffes are going extinct?
Fucking giraffes and tigers and gray wolves and leopards and
goddamn motherfuckers. I guess we got to rise up and start cloning that shit. Let's go.
We got to get a goddamn
YouTube GoFundMe page for this shit or something. Come on now. No. Anyways, I think the point we're trying to make is like, you could look at extinct animals, you could look at endangered species, you could look at, plants, whatever.
Yes, there are better ways to use this technology than to create fucking dinosaurs.
No, I agree. And it maybe you'll find ways to do certain things with it. Maybe you look at like the stuff that you've used, maybe to bioengineer these things, great. But maybe there's ways to, for medical research, maybe there's things that we don't know about, like, and I'm going to say it, the problem is I always think of like, if you find the cure for cancer, I always think of like, I can't, help me out, man. What's the movie with Will Smith? And like they find the cure for cancer and basically everything goes into like a vampiric, they like turn into, what I'm talking about. I'm lost for words right now. I'm sorry. But anyways,
yes.
The point is of that film is like, if you find the cure for cancer, the repercussions.
You're going to create zombies.
You're going to create zombies or going to create something else like that. I'm not saying you have to, use.
I Am Legend.
All right. Thank you. My God, I was drawing a blank. It was driving me nuts. So yes, I Am Legend, you look at something like that, you could use the medical research in a sense, maybe to do that. But, again, you have to think of, again, what the chaos theory comes into play here. Is that wise? Is that going to help you really, or is that going to help humanity? Or are we going to cause more shit down the road because of this?
Maybe. Kathleen Kennedy was here we go. Executive producer. So maybe.
I knew it's got to bring that up.
Maybe if they just made the dinosaurs lame and gay, they wouldn't have.
Here we go.
They wouldn't have killed people that much.
Oh, are you saying if they went after every after every time they like let me bite your ass real quick?
And the velociraptors would have just been like, oh my gosh, I love your outfit.
Matt, what are you trying to say, Matt? What are you trying to say?
If you just make them lame and gay, they'd be fine.
I'm sorry, lame and gay?
Lame and gay.
Lame and gay.
Lame and gay.
Lemon gay or lame and
Lame
gay?
and gay.
So you're saying lame-o, as in put J-Mo. I don't know. But gay, okay.
All right, well, let's move on.
Anyways, but yeah, I just wanted to make sure I heard that correctly. Anyways.
Oh, yeah, I'm just saying. All right. I'm just throwing it out there.
All right.
Just throwing it out there.
You do you, buddy. I'm just saying.
It's just like fishing. I'm just throwing my lure out there and seeing what comes back. And sometimes it's nothing. But hey, it's
called Here We the Fuck Are.
All right, so I got there's some Easter eggs and some references for at least the first one. I already mentioned in the Indiana Jones ones in the second movie. But Dennis Nedry, if you don't know who that guy is, he is Wayne Knight. He was in the first movie. He was kind of the programmer.
Kind of bigger dude. He's, again, we talked about it a little bit. He was the guy who played in Seinfeld, Billy Madison.
Please say the magic word. That was what his computer did all the time. So there was an Easter egg with his outfits that he wore in the movie. And when you first see him, he's wearing this like Hawaiian shirt. And that Hawaiian shirt is a callback to the Goonies, which if you don't know, the Goonies is a callback to Chunk.
He's like, Baby Root. Well, technically, that's not him, but he was like, yeah, let me give you my bite of a Baby Root. Yeah, it's that guy, the kind of bigger guy.
The guy, the Truffle Shuffle.
There you go, Truffle Shuffle. That's the best one.
So he first wears the Hawaiian shirt, and then when you see him later on, he's sitting at the desk and doing his thing. He's wearing a members only jacket, which is gray, which is similar to Mouth, who's a character that's in the Goonies movie. And much later on, after he steals the embryos, he's wearing the rain jacket, which is similar to what Mikey's wearing also in the Goonies.
Yes. And, and when you mentioned that to me, honestly, I didn't think it was a Goonies reference. I think it was just like part of the film. Didn't really think about it. But then when you mentioned it, I was like,
I didn't think about it until when I was doing the research and I saw this like kind of Easter egg reference and I was like, huh. And then I, after looking up, I was like, yeah, okay. Like you look up each of the characters and you see what they're wearing, in still frames, and you're like, oh.
You're like, okay, I see what you're doing.
I see what they're doing. Yeah, I see it.
But again, it was more of a Spielberg, kind of like tribute in a sense. But yeah.
And then a lot of what they did with, the T-Rex, especially in like the first movie, was kind of a callback to Godzilla, because that was one of Spielberg's inspirations for the film was Godzilla. I believe it was in particular the King of Monsters movie.
Oh, you're talking about the
older one, yeah. He was a big Godzilla fan, and that was a lot of the inspiration for at least some of what Godzilla was. I mean, the T-Rex was doing in the movie. I mean, you can kind of see a lot of that, like when you see like his little eyeball going into the next to the window. And
if I'm not mistaken, though, I think it's kind of a little random here, but I think Universal Studios actually had and this is a while back, if I'm not mistaken, but like I don't know if they had like a Jurassic Park, like kind of like, I don't know, it was like a theme ride or like some kind of like thing you could go in and you can actually kind of like see the animatronics of like how they
it was sort of like if you went, if you guys ever went, if you're local here to New Hampshire, if you went to like on the log ride. It was kind of similar to that. Like you're kind of riding
what, Canopy?
Yeah. Canopy, like, yeah. So you're riding kind of these like, you're kind of riding along like the water, and like you can kind of see like dinosaurs along the side, and like every once in a while, like a raptor would come at you, and
like wow, you're like, ooh.
You kind of go into this like little cavey area, and then from the top, like a T-Rex would come in and crash in, and as it came down, your boat kind of went down the chute, if you will. So you went kind of down the ramp.
See, I thought they did, because I remember I was, and this is kind of random too, but like the Jaws ride that they actually had there, and then
I did that one too.
That was fun, and it was old school because it was the animate, like wow, and you're like, oh, it's like lame, but it's kind of the same thing where you're like in that ride too, and you're like, You're like, oh, you don't want to get eaten, but you're like, I guess I'm just gonna go dive down now.
You almost know that it's fake, but like
you don't really want it to actually eat you in that moment.
You have to like use your imagination, and you have to pretend like you're almost in that movie and in that feeling like, oh my gosh, like we're going to die, and like
and he's gonna bite my head off. Like yas.
Yeah.
Anyways,
this is not a robot shark.
Oh. Anyways,
so there are also various movie references. Obviously the outfits are references to the Goonies. There's a movie actually playing on his PC, which it's funny because I wouldn't have caught this just watching the movie. But there's a still frame where somebody did like a side by side of what was on his screen and a still shot from Jaws, and it's the same shot.
Oh no shit! I didn't know.
And so he's actually watching Jaws on his computer screen, which is kind of interesting. But there's a kitchen scene that has like two references from The Shining,
which that I didn't understand. I just read that and I was like, I didn't notice that. I do understand like that scene. I remember the scene where it's like what was it? The two kids.
Yeah,
the two kids underneath, and they're just like trying to hide, and they're like. The Velociraptor's like, kind of looking around, like, kind of looking underneath a little bit there and there. I didn't think that was The Shining, though.
Yeah, it's a reference to The Shining. I mean, when Tim he runs into the ice freezer.
Oh, yep.
And, he kind of chases him in and locks him in there. Like that happens in The Shining. So I'm assuming that was one of them. But the other one was, I think, when he's kind of coming in, and you kind of see him in the window, and he's like kind of breathing on the
instead of like, "Here's Johnny," it's like the you're like,
so yeah, that's kind of like the references to The Shining. And then I haven't seen Close Encounters of the Third Kind in a long fucking time, but like,
not gonna lie to you, I've never seen it, so I have no idea.
The end scene for Jurassic Park.
Yeah,
they're flying away in the helicopter, and you just kind of have like those like the theme for Jurassic Park really is just 5 notes. It's like, it's just that's all it is.
Yeah.
And that's kind of all you hear is that in that kind of end scene is that's all you hear.
Yeah.
And in Close Encounters of the Third Kind, it's not the same notes, but it's the same like 5 notes at the end of Close Encounters.
Okay, so like, but is it played the same way? Like,
it's not played the same way, but it's only 5 notes.
So it's slightly different,
right? Yeah, it's not the same tune, but it's 5 notes, and it ends with that same kind of like helicopter over the water kind of scene.
I mean, I get that, but is that really an Easter egg? If it's just
it's not an Easter egg; it's just a reference.
Oh, well,
it's just a silly reference. I don't know.
I don't know. That's dumb. But anyways,
I didn't make it up. I'm just writing down what
what I see. All right,
I'm just writing down what I see.
The internet tells me all.
One of the foreshadowing things that I did notice, which was kind of neat because I actually wrote this down earlier today when I watched this movie, was the helicopter ride at the beginning of the movie. Dr. Grant, when he's on the helicopter, is like kind of struggling to buckle himself in when they're going down in the helicopter to land, but he can't buckle because he has 2 female buckles, and they're all like looking for the male buckle so that he can actually buckle himself in, and then he finds a way and ties them together, which was kind of like a foreshadow of like what was going to happen with the dinosaurs kind of finding a way. Oh, because all the dinosaurs on the island were female, and they found a way. They found a way to reproduce
without having the male and so forth. But
and so it was kind of a foreshadow if you really look at it. And he found a way to buckle himself by tying the thing. So
I could see. I mean, trust me, it was very clever that you found it. Just even that small little minute detail, like, kind of describes the movie. And it's like, it's weird when you say it like that, because at first you're like, oh, it's whatever. It's just like, I can't find another, male in this case. All right, I'm just going to tie myself off. No problem. I'm going to make sure I'm secure. But yeah, no, but like the whole movie basically, like at least the theme of it to a degree is like based off this one fucking buckle scene. It's like, how did you do that, man? And how did you get philosophical in this for like 2 seconds? It's like, what? How does this make sense? But it does make sense, and it's weird how you put it that way. But
yeah. I mean, Jurassic Park was one of these movies that was, I think, for its time, and you really have to look at other movies before Jurassic Park, because when you look at
Oh, I know. No, hold on. I'm going to stop you there. I have looked at some of the movies before Jurassic Park, and we've talked about some of these movies, and I've told you my thoughts on some of these movies, and you may not agree with me, but I'm just saying, yes, Jurassic Park, like, let me put it this way. If Steven Spielberg and George Lucas were basically buds in that sense, they learned from each other, and I understood he basically pioneered his own way to do that. I'm just saying, you look at Mortal Kombat, Super Mario Brothers, which I know at some point we're going to...
Mortal Kombat came out after this movie.
Well, then they didn't learn from that. That's all I'm going to say.
But the thing with this movie was, like, they used a combo of animatronics and CGI. And this was, like, one of the things, like, when you really look at movies before this, it was more about, like, digitizing film. Right. And they used... And we've talked about this in the digital versus practical effects episode that we talked about. They used the matte paintings, which was literally just painting backgrounds and then filming over them.
Yeah, but I mean, I think
CGI was more of like, you look at Superman, right? Like with Christopher Reeve, and the CGI is silly.
Well, we're talking about 78. We're talking like late 70s in that sense, versus early 90s. But
even still, I mean, the creature effects, like in CGI before this, like wasn't up to what Jurassic Park did.
I think, well, hold on, I'm going to stop you there. I think the biggest thing that they did, which really helped drive the film, was the animatronics. I think the animatronics really, if they didn't really get that kind of down, it would have made the film probably a pile of shit. Because when you looked at the fact that I know that the T-Rex was all animatronic, pretty much all dinosaurs that they had in the film were all animatronic. And so they did it in a way that, because
not all of them.
I thought they did.
But they also used CGI. I mean, when you look at the kitchen scene,
I thought that was animatronics though.
There was one.
So one of them was animatronics, the other one was not.
The other one was not.
Well, they did a really good fucking job of...
So that was the thing, like, they used the combo of animatronics and CGI, and even with the animatronics, they CGI'd over the animatronics to give them even more of a realistic look.
I mean, yeah, which it would help. I mean, it really kind of intensifies the scene in that sense, but I agree with you that, yes, if you just had the animatronics and you were just like, and it just was like doing a weird thing, it would look weird, but I get that the CGI... Even in nowadays, I mean, there's plenty of movies that might have animatronics and have that kind of same combo now. I mean, granted, it's mostly CGI. They don't give a fuck about animatronics anymore.
Yeah, now, but I think, when you look at Jurassic Park, it was the first movie that really did this.
Well, right, and that's why I'm giving them that credit too, because the animatronics piece. I mean, it's not like it was not new, because they've of course have done it in the past. I think because of maybe the technology that they had, or they had to basically reinvent the wheel a little bit to make it more as realistic as it should be without having to use a lot of CGI in a sense. Then that's where I would say, like I said, that your T-Rex, your Velociraptors, the different dinosaurs that they needed to do it with, it made it more as realistic as it could be, because like I said, like even the Universal Park ride, I mean, it was cheap animatronics in some ways sense, but like, you still got the real effect of what it could be like if you were in that film, as close as you should be.
I mean, and there were some things obviously that the animatronics couldn't do, which is where they use a lot of the CGI. But you're also talking like using CGI in a majority of the film. You look at yes, I understand like some of the Star Wars were created in the 70s and the 80s, but like you're looking at those like movies that were not made in the 70s. That are made in like the mid 80s to late 80s, a lot of them used matte paintings where they're painting people and buildings and backgrounds. Jurassic Park didn't do that. They didn't use matte paintings. They CGI'd a lot of it.
No, and I can understand that, and I can understand that when you look at we've mentioned this before that Lucas and Spielberg kind of they went to college together. They did all these things together, so. it's not like they couldn't have bounced these ideas off. I mean, I guarantee you those two probably were talking a lot through their movies and stuff.
I'm sure. I mean,
he had to talk to him about some of this stuff, because I know that, especially with Star Wars, I mean, they had to use some sort of animatronics for certain things. They couldn't, I mean, yes, they use actual people, I get that, but there could have been some things that they had to use.
Well, they had they did have a gigantic T-Rex animatronic. I know that is a fact, yes.
Yeah. And that was like, I'd probably say months of work of constant, like, trying to build it, make it look as real as whatever, but like, to get it as close as you can, especially on the big screen like that, without having to use a lot of like CGI, that's a feat and a half. Like, I mean, you're talking, it's got to be millions of dollars right there, just alone, and like trying to build these things, because it's not cheap to try to build a giant ass, or like really a giant ass, like, T-Rex, or even a smaller version of like a Velociraptor. You know what I mean? Or like some of these other ones that they might have had to, sit there and like recreate the wheel, because, like this is their version of whatever they think of like a T-Rex Velociraptor could be. I mean, yes, we have like maybe a drawing of what basically some dinosaurs looked like, but is it as close as we can get? Like these guys had to kind of reinvent the wheel a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because they had to basically make it on the big screen and say, this is what we think it is now. And that was a kind of a cool thing about it.
And what's funny is like, this thing actually says, in the entire movie, there's probably only about like maybe 10 minutes in the whole movie of actual CGI work, which is kind of crazy if you actually think about it. Cause like most of the time, like it was like all practical effects mixed in with like brief, like CGI, like sequences. The original plan that Spielberg had was to do stop motion techniques and using the full scale animatronics, which back then in the 90s, stop motion is what they did.
Yeah. I mean, so I guess in a sense, like he basically had to recreate the wheel. That's what he did. I mean, he basically was like, I'm going to make this film and I'm going to make sure that it's not anywhere where it, what it could have been. I want to make it so that way, like future generations of like whoever watches this can be like, wow, you know what? That's a great movie. And this was made when? You know what I mean? Because like that's the other piece of this is like this movie came out, I'll say it, Matt, ready? 31 years ago, the same age as me. That's crazy. And it's still a movie that people would still watch to this day.
Yeah, and the T-Rex is mostly, like most of the scenes that you see the T-Rex in, it's mostly animatronic. So like the iconic scene where, you see the Jeep, I'm kind of looking at the picture now where, Dr. Grant and Lex, which is the little girl.
Oh, yep. Okay.
Like they just got out of the Jeep and Tim is still in the Jeep because he's stuck and he has his like hand over her mouth to kind of keep quiet. And all you see, all you see is like the T-Rex foot like come crashing down and like sink into the mud. Like that's an animatronic foot.
I mean, still, again, to create that.
It's so menacing, dude. Like you see it and it's like, oh my gosh, like it's fucking right there.
Oh no, but that's what I mean. Like, they recreated the wheel, they did all this stuff. And then basically you're looking at it and you're like, holy shit. Like if this was me in that movie or like even in real life, if this was a real thing, yeah, I'd be shitting my pants too. And I'd be like, fuck, let's get the fuck out of here. Like I want to be around here. But no, but it's interesting that they it's like they almost like, how like back in the 70s, of course, when you look at Jaws, like the very first Jaws, and everyone's like, oh my God, they're freaking out. And that was all animatronics that they were doing. And that was early on. But like, people were scared. They were scared to like go to the ocean and do all this shit. People were probably frightened of being like, oh shit, I don't want to go anywhere near a fucking dinosaur. But, it's that same idea.
So the scene where it's like kind of that scene where the T-Rex just got done kind of attacking all of them and he's chasing the Jeep.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
That scene is where you first see the full CGI. That one scene is not an animatronic. That's a CGI.
So my question though is that must have been what, like halfway, maybe 2/3 maybe of the film?
It's probably like 2/3 of the way in because they've already, the other Jeep already crashed down there, and then they basically, Sadler and Muldoon, I believe is the other dude's name, the Velociraptor guy.
Oh, okay. Yep.
they go and investigate like what's going on, and they find, you know, Dr. Malcolm kind of like, because he got, you know,
yeah.
But yeah, that scene, you know, where he's charging that Jeep because he needed to run at full speed, like it was a CGI basically loop, and the animatronic is in the scene, but the CGI kind of takes over and makes it so that he's running faster than he was in the actual shot.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then the other scene that says here, when he's attacking a herd of,
I don't even know what the hell Gallimimus is.
I believe it's the scene when they're kind of out in the open in that field and they see like those kind of dinosaurs that are running, and then they kind of shift back to them, and they have to hide behind that big log.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, they like start rolling down.
The T-Rex comes in and picks one up and then eats one, and
I think they like one of them got chucked, and that's how they start rolling down the hill, basically. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, again, we could talk about all the different scenes and stuff, but it's just impressive how they did it. They use the basically both styles of the animatronics and the CGI effects, and I think it does a good job. I mean, most of the time I would say, unless you really had a keen eye for it, like I would say for the most part, you probably couldn't tell. It's maybe slight differences, but
believable, and that's where, and I think that's where it's, obviously when you're looking at like when they first show up in Jurassic Park, like they're looking at the Brachiosaurus.
Yeah, it's like, ooh,
you can obviously tell like
that is
there's no fucking way that they're not going to do an animatronic of that big of a fucking dinosaur. So you obviously can tell like, yeah, those are CGI dinosaurs. There's no way that those are in the background.
Right.
But when you're looking at some of these other ones, like, the Gallimimus, all of those little ones, they're not going to be animatronic. So those all had to be CGI'd in so that they could run in that like pattern.
Right. It's interesting though, like when they do CGI is like, I think it's weird probably for an actor to like either like pretend like, oh, like running away from something, but you don't actually know what you're running away from. And then you see the actual scene once it's CGI'd in, because like, and that's like in a lot of movies. So like if you see this like giant ass wolf or like this like giant whatever, and you're like, oh, and I'm running away.
When they're doing like the Marvel movies and you see like, when you see, what's his face wearing like the giant fucking Hulk bodysuit.
Oh yeah.
Like it has to be so weird, like seeing those guys and like seeing the what's his face with the Thanos, like he had like the giant head thing on, and
the giant head. I'm down. Dude, you just threw me for a loop. I'm trying to remember
the guy who played Thanos.
Oh,
he had to wear the huge
Josh Brolin.
Yes. Yeah, he had to wear the big bodysuit, and he had a huge head because Thanos was taller than he was.
Right.
So he had a huge head of Thanos on top of his head.
Right.
And then the body, so that they could see kind of like the size, shape, but they had to like, they had to
imagine. But they had to imagine him being that height and not like looking straight at his chest basically and be like, "Oh, I'm talking to you." No, but I agree with you. It's like you're trying to figure out like how do you I don't even know, like act in that sense, because like for me, I'd be like, what's my motivation here?
I'm an actor.
I'm an actor. I'm actually in that case, I'm an author.
Yeah,
I'm kidding.
All right, so just some final thoughts to kind of close this out. I mean, there's one that I was kind of thinking of going. Our next episode is going to be more about the Jurassic World. And, this was a fan theory that I was reading on Reddit. And to me, like, I think it made a lot more sense. And I think this would have been really super cool, like, if they would have kind of played this out. But, like, there were a lot of people that wished that an older Tim, which Tim was the little kid.
Little boy,
in the movie, was the character that they used in Jurassic World instead of Owen. But so Chris Pratt still playing the character, but instead of being Owen, he would have been Tim.
You know what? I could see that. And I could see the references and stuff. Yeah. I mean, that would have been nice.
So the role would have been the same as Owen's, like, and it would have fit well because he would have been like the expert called to evaluate the safety of the Indominus paddock.
Right, and already had previous experience from his childhood, but yeah.
Yeah, and it's also a nice wink to the OG films, which the Jurassic World films already link to the OG trilogies.
So the problem is though, that like what is the connection though? Because like, who is that, that character? I mean, besides Jeff Goldblum, clearly, because I know he's in the newer ones, but like...
Well, I mean, Jurassic World, I mean, the park is right on top of the old park. So, I mean,
but I would say besides that, I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, I would say besides maybe location, I'm thinking more like characters. I'm thinking more like, how do we connect it that way in a sense?
Well,
like,
I mean,
I agree with
you still have... you still have Ian Malcolm, who's in that movie.
No, right.
In the second Jurassic World, John Hammond's in that fucking movie.
No, all I'm saying is like in the very first Jurassic World film, you know what I'm saying? Like to kind of connect besides just the location. That's all I was saying. I was just saying that.
Right. I mean, yeah, granted in the first movie, there's not a lot of characters, but like you have a lot of links because it's right on the park that was there. So, in the movie, like you see like one of the original Jeeps from Jurassic Park, like the very first movie. It is right there. And like, I'm going to say it, John.
Go ahead.
Rexy.
Yeah. Rexy.
So T-Rex in the Jurassic Park movies, which is the same fucking T-Rex that's in all of the movies.
And in the OG, we're talking about who?
And in the new ones too. It's the same T-Rex.
Name?
In all of them. Apparently the fans decided to name this T-Rex Rexy.
Now again,
it's the same T-Rex that's in all of them.
I'm honestly surprised because this is just me, like, because we don't actually understand it feels like, again, with John Hammond, right? He doesn't understand like the lifespan of dinosaurs. So clearly this dinosaur has a lot longer of a lifespan. I don't know. I'm just surprised.
You didn't know?
Clearly, because I didn't know. But yeah, it's just crazy.
Life finds a way, John.
Oh yeah, that's how life finds a way. Yeah,
life finds a way.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean the two trilogies are linked in that way because they're kind of the same. The lore is exactly the same. I mean, you even have BD Wong who's in all 6 of them.
No,
you know what I mean? So it's the same. It's the same kind of continuity. So yeah, I mean, having Tim would be a nice kind of callback to that.
I think it probably would have added a nice little flair to it because then at least you could have been like, oh hey, yeah, that little boy in the very first one. Then yes, you could have been like, oh,
and then
look.
You also can be with Claire's role, which is she was kind of the love interest in that movie in the newer movies. Her role wouldn't have changed either. I mean, she would still struggle with the nephews. She would still lose them in the chaos, but instead of Owen, it would be Tim helping to find them. So you would still have the same movie. It would just be kind of cool to have that.
Literally change a name. That's it. And just add the fact that it's, connected from the very first film.
Right.
That's it. But no, I agree. I mean, again, when we talk about Jurassic World and Jurassic Park, actually, I would really just say Jurassic anything. Okay. Because like World Park, whatever you want to call it. You look at the franchise, okay, I know I've talked about all the franchises before and things like that. I'm not saying that each one of these franchises has their own unique thing. That's the best part about it. So like this one has a very unique feel because, when you're thinking of the world of literally dinosaurs, you think of Jurassic Park, you think of Jurassic World, you're thinking like, it's cool to see these things come to the big screen. You're like, oh my God, this is what a T-Rex would look like, or this is what a Velociraptor or Brontosaurus or a Stegosaurus or whatever. Like these are the things. And then of course they're like, hey, I love when they have to, and especially when we talked about the new ones, like, hey, let's be real stupid and be like, hey, let's make a new dinosaur. Let's see if we can make it an apex predator, or we need to, amped up the T-Rex a bit. It's like, dude, you have
because
a T-Rex.
The regular dinosaurs are not dinosaur enough.
Or no, not even that. They're not effective, or they're not, predatory enough.
Are you not dinosaur-y?
Am I too dinosaur-y enough for the dinosaur club? Instead of like am I too turtle-y enough, or turtle club?
Am I not dinosaur enough for the dinosaur
club? Am I not too Brachiosaurus for the Brachiosaurus club? Huh? They're like, yes. I'm just saying, guys. I mean, if you haven't seen this movie, really the first OG versus the new stuff, I would get on it. I mean, again, you have to like dinosaurs. You have to kind of like the concept of the idea. I always
have a sexy Jeff Goldblum. Come on,
and who says this is a pile of shit? Like, no shit, hey. Sherlock. You're absolutely right. There's a pile of shit right there that you're looking at.
He says it how it is,
and he's saying it's sexy. So if you like it, go for it. But anyways, guys, we appreciate you. We love the fact that you guys are listening. Hopefully on YouTube now. Buy some of that merch. Look at Matt's new book. God damn it! I swear to God, I want to see it go big, man. Because God damn it, we're trying to make sure that Hollywood is not the way they're going to continue on. Hopefully Matt can change that fucking outlook on people. But God,
NYT bestseller, baby.
God damn it. Let's make this happen. Anyways, until next time, boys and girls.
Stay geeky.